as is.
Mm-hmm. We had a comment come across our Facebook page. I don't know if it was you that deleted it or maybe he himself took it down. This guy, he gave an angry face to our page, which I thought was weird. Just the existence of the page angers you. I never understood people getting angry.
Well,
all that angry on Facebook. It's kind of like, just keep scrolling if you don't like it. I don't.
Well, the thing is, I did look at his Facebook page, and I could see why.
Yeah. Oh no. I could. I'm building up to that. See, and he actually made the comment. What was it? How do you phrase it? It was beautifully phrased. I believe he said he just made the floating statement all by itself, no context, no lead up. Whores and cucks. Just so eloquent. I mean, just poetry right there.
Right.
Couldn't help but notice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I couldn't help but notice when I looked at his profile, he was single. Just going to throw that out there.
Wonder why. He seems like a catch.
So personable and eloquent, and he is a hidden gem.
Yeah. Yeah. Hidden under dirt and in a cave under a rock. Well, I guess if you're in a cave, you're technically under a rock. A lot of them. A big rock.
So we have different types of ethical non-monogamy, and we said we would give you the spectrum from swinging to polyamory. And a lot of people mistake, a lot of people who aren't in the polyamorous scene,
those not
mistake polyamory for polygamy. And polygamy is completely different. In fact, there are a few different types of polygamy. And polygamy is generally what you would imagine the Mormons to practice, where there's one husband and he has many wives. You may be familiar with the show Sister Wives. That is a typical polygamist relationship when you see, and I'm not knocking, I'm not dissing. Whatever makes everybody happy is their best life, and that is amazing. And I want you to continue doing those things. Polyamorous favor intimacy and connection and are committed to more than one partner at a time. So unlike polygamy has a main center partner, and then they're kind of like the bottom dot, and then they branch off into, their own partners. It's centralized around one person.
Quick shout out to all the Mormons out there who might be listening. We understand that most Mormons don't actually practice polygamy right now in this century, but some do, and it gets popularized on TV, so it's the thing that people see.
It's the example that people know.
Mostly polygamy is centered around heterosexuality. So it's a male with many females. There are different types where there is a female at the center. This is a kind of a more recent adaptation, I guess, of the polygamy scene. I'm reading here on an article. It says the most common form of polygamy is polygyny, which is when a man is allowed to marry more than one wife, but the woman is restricted to one husband. And then there's polyandry. It's where the woman can marry more than one partner. This all differs from polyamory in the sense that polyamory recognizes all genders and sexual orientations.
So if somebody tells you you're doing polyamory wrong, and it's working for you and your partners, and everybody's cool with it, then you're not doing it wrong. If it works, it works.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be open to different terms and definitions when it comes to someone helping you to define or narrow down what it is you're doing.
Right.
Because then we never had the term polyamory up until a few years ago. And as a practice, we didn't know the word existed. And so once we found out, it kind of opened up our world into possibilities of ways we could go about finding what we were looking for. We could type it into a Google search. We could include it on our dating profiles. We could have a term that related us to other people who were doing the same things that we were trying to do or doing. While definitions are limiting sometimes, they're also helpful when you're searching for like-minded or similar pathways.
That's why I there's a love-hate relationship with definitions, especially in the LGBTQ community, the ethical non-monogamy communities, a lot of things, is because once you've made a box, you've made a term, you've limited it to that thing. The benefit is that now you get to identify yourself, and you can point to something and say, I am this. But it goes the other way when somebody tries to push you into that box.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. This is all it is, and this is all you can do.
So we're not trying to push any of our listeners into a box. We're just giving you some verbiage so that you can say, hey, I think I'm kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And never define yourself, and never limit yourself to a box, but at least I don't think you should. But if you're comfy inside a box and you like, yeah, this fits me perfectly, I'm going to take this and run with it. Good for you. Take it and run.
A lot of times it's a good place to start
right.
and expand from.
Right, that's how, yeah.
Or some people find it and they like being there and they don't, want to.
Or maybe you have a word and you define it completely differently than we will do it here. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
But as these things become more pronounced in society, as polyamory comes out more in society and ethical non-monogamy starts to gain more momentum, which it totally is, you may find that your personal definition of something isn't fitting what most other people define it as. So that's why we throw these terms out. That's why we define them before we continue what we're saying, is because we want you to understand what we're saying.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to fit in that box.
Right. We're not trying to label you. We're not trying to put names on things if you didn't want them there in the first place. We're just trying to have tools so that we can communicate to you. You can't see me gesturing on the podcast.
We are going to talk a little bit more about monogamish. Monogamish came to be, well, I'm sure it existed long before this, of course.
It's a definition.
And no, it's not how you say it when you're drunk.
Person who coined the term is named Dan Savage. It is basically allowing varying degrees of sexual contact with others with someone who is in a primarily monogamous relationship.
So this is a happy couple who occasionally throw a threesome in just to spice things up.
Or if they have any kind of intimate relationship with somebody else. It doesn't have to be threesomes or foursomes or orgies or...
And of course, like everything, it differs per couple. There are different rules and boundaries that are defined differently. It could be one-night stands. It could be specific kinds of sexual activity.
Hall passes.
Fishing license, hunting license, hall pass, or
wait. Yeah. Oh, let's go back. Hunting license, fishing license.
I'll get back to those in a minute.
Okay.
This could also be I would say a couple that practices same room sex with another couple.
Oh, okay.
That's when they're having sex with their partner, just in front of the other couple that's doing the same thing. I would say that they are monogamish.
Well, they're not actually.
Yeah, but they're really on the border on it. They're getting off on the other couple's sexuality. They're using it to enhance their experience.
So then anyone who watches porn is monogamish?
I don't think anybody's monogamous. I think monogamy is a lie.
It's like real life porn.
Yeah. I'd say it's right there in the gray area on the edge of the curve, but I don't
know.
That's a good question. Let's we can bring that up.
I
on
would
Twitter.
love people to comment in after they watched it. If they
So after you listen to this episode, hit us up on Twitter and what you think about it, because I'm kind of curious as to where does that
or
fall?
Facebook
or Facebook, either one of them. Yeah, and we'll bring it up on the next episode, because it'd be kind of interesting to see what our listeners think of, what would you call a couple having sex in a room with another couple, but keeping their space. And that would be at poly_saturated on Twitter.
And then you have to ask yourself, where exactly do you draw the line in SRS? That's same room sex. If the girls are holding hands while this is happening, is that not interacting? If two people who are in the opposite couples having sex near one another, if they're absently stroking each other while they're doing that, is that, so it's
this can get complicated.
Oh yeah, it really can, which is why I put it toward it's right on the border.
Well, you started it off with them just being completely separate and in the same room.
And
now
they're
we're moving
touching.
closer together, so we know where you're going with this. So yes, that would definitely be monogamish, what you're talking about.
Right.
So
What you originally presented, it's questionable.
So if they have two couples in the same room having sex, okay, and then they start having sex with the other couple, is that still monogamish?
No.
Yeah. I know. I'm
no.
expanding on where he was going with it. I just threw it out there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, then you
because
have to define when is it officially become so reaching over to squeeze somebody from the other couple's nipple, when does that become
oh my god.
We almost had a spit take on that one.
Jay,
I almost spat my coffee
Jay,
out.
can you keep him under control?
Okay.
Can you reel?
That's your husband.
Just,
I'm not.
no.
Yeah.
Reel him back in.
So-
Reel him back in.
Speaking of reeling back in, I will define the fishing license.
Okay.
The fishing license I define as permission to explore something if it just sort of happens.
Okay.
So, okay, yes, you're going to be visiting your best friend out in California who's a bit of a wild card, and they're going to take you out to all of these areas. Hey, if something's going to happen, yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's interesting because Jay has done that for me a couple times. I mean,
yeah.
nothing, and me being me, nothing ever happened.
Imagine that.
He had no bait on the hook.
Well, no. Well, not necessarily that. Just
It was more like he kept pulling his hook safely away from the fish.
No, the fish it was an empty pond.
No, even if
No, it
they
wasn't.
were around, and he would explain situations when he got back. I'm like, hello,
Okay.
they were flirting with you.
Yeah,
You totally missed an opportunity. And he's like, oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I'm slightly.
he's pretty oblivious.
Now,
I was going to go with slightly.
Oh, no, he's
it
oblivious.
completely, yeah. On the other hand, that would lead to a hunting license, which is more like a go get 'em, Tiger. You got this weekend. Go ahead.
Go team, slap on the ass.
And the person is
Which I've also done.
yeah, the person's not going to
And yet again, nothing
passively
happened.
passively accept something that might develop. There, literally, while you're out on your business trip, go to such and such a place and find someone. And what was
Does
the
it have to be a specific one, or does it have to be like, just go and do whatever?
Hey, Julie is out there. See if you can find Julie.
Oh, okay.
Hall pass is weird because I've seen it presented in both lights.
There's even a movie about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty funny movie.
Yeah.
I've seen it presented in two lights. One is, hey, I'm giving you the hall pass. Just look, whether you're fishing or hunting, in this scenario, just go until you find.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've heard it portrayed differently, as in, oh, I see you hooked up with so and so last weekend. I'm okay with it.
Right.
And that was being okay, just that once. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where
See, but I thought it was permission before the fact.
Yeah.
I've heard it as both ways.
Really?
And that's why I brought up the
Okay.
difference is whether it was making it okay afterwards or giving permission beforehand.
Mhm.
It was the hall pass. I guess the way I heard it, as in giving permission ad hoc, was typically amongst celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess she just gave him the pass.
Ah, okay. So yeah, in other words, like it happened, they're okay with it, and it's a post-hall pass.
And now they're moving on.
Right.
And then we go into swinging.
Mm-hmm.
And we've discussed a little bit about what swinging entails or what it is. But essentially, swinging's focus is being primarily on joint and casual sexual intercourse. So it means that you go out and you enjoy having sex with other people, and sometimes jointly together or sometimes individually.
Mm-hmm.
But usually you do it as a couple, and you go out and you have sex. It's generally at a party, or even if you set up things separately, but it's a casual thing. There's not a lot of intimacy involved in it. You could start feeling a certain kind of way, of course, because you're going to have some sort of respect and admiration, I would hope, for people that you're having sex with, especially if you're doing it on a regular basis.
So-
If you like somebody enough to have that kind of interaction with, a lot of people, the feelings are intertwined in that.
Mm-hmm.
If I have respect, admiration, and trust you enough to share all of this with you, then all of this. No, like all of this meaning like
Yeah.